All right, let's talk about something we all kind of dread, but honestly, it's something we really need a plan for. I'm talking about that moment when the phones just go dark. Imagine this. You pull out your phone, right? You're going to make a call, check the news, text someone you love, and bam, you get this. It's just a simple screen, but it tells you something is very, very wrong. Just 2 words. No service. But what does that really mean? It means the towers are down, the internet gone, and just like that, you're completely cut off. That feeling. It's just this instant, unnerving sense of isolation. And that leads to the one question that cuts through all the noise. How are you going to reach your family? You know, in a crisis, connection is everything. So, what's your plan when the one tool you rely on most just fails? Well, let's build one. Together.
Okay, so let's get into why this even happens. I mean, our communication grid, it's a modern marvel, for sure. But here's the thing, it's also incredibly fragile. We're talking about a super complex web of infrastructure that's way more vulnerable than most of us think.
And you've got to see how interconnected this all is. A power grid failure, that's not just about the lights going out. Nope, it silences the cell towers. It shuts down the data centers that our phones need to work. A single failure, just one weak link, and the whole thing can come crashing down.
And these threats, they're actually a lot more common than we like to admit. You've got natural disasters like wildfires and ice storms that can physically wreck the infrastructure. Then you have cyber attacks or even just simple grid failures. Heck, even a small localized emergency can overload the network when everyone tries to call at once. And poof, a system-wide crash.
So how do we fight back against this fragility? How do we build some resilience? Well, the solution isn't just buying one cool gadget. It's about a strategy of layered communication. So if one layer fails, you've got another one ready to go. It's all about something called communication redundancy. Redundancy, that's the key concept here. You know, think of it like this, a building with multiple exits. If the main door is blocked by a fire, you're not trapped, right? You've got other ways out. We need to apply that exact same logic to how our families talk to each other in an emergency.
And here's how we can think about it. A simple 3-layer stack. Layer 1, that's our normal everyday stuff. Cell phones, Wi-Fi, it's fast, but it's fragile. Layer 2 is where we get into our simple backups, things like walkie-talkies for talking locally and a NOAA weather radio to get alerts. And then there's Layer 3, the most resilient of them all, ham radio. That's the one that can work when literally everything else is down.
But listen, before we even start talking about buying gear, we have to talk about the single most important piece of this whole puzzle. And it's not a gadget, it's a plan. A shared family plan. Because think about it, the best radio in the world is totally useless if your family doesn't even know what channel to tune into or when to listen.
So what makes a solid family communication plan? Well, it's got 3 key parts. First, you need 2 meeting places. One that's nearby, easy to get to, and another one that's further away, just in case the whole neighborhood is affected. Second, and this is a really clever trick, you need one out-of-area contact. Why? Because long-distance networks are often still working even when local ones are down. So everyone in the family just agrees to call or text that one person to check in.
And the third piece, you take all of that crucial info and you put it on a physical pocket-sized card, one for every single family member. It's such a great example of how a super simple low-tech tool can be your most reliable asset. It doesn't need power, it doesn't need a signal. The plan is just right there, in your wallet or your pocket.
All right, so once you have that plan locked down, now we can talk about the tools that bring it to life. We're talking about the devices that actually give you options when your fancy smartphone is nothing more than a paperweight.
Your backup radio toolkit really needs a mix of radios for different jobs. You'll want a basic AM/FM radio just for listening to general news updates. Then, a NOAA weather radio. That's super important for getting official alerts. For talking back and forth with your family or neighbors, you'll need some FRS or GMRS walkie-talkies. And then there's the big one, ham radio. That's your lifeline for reaching out further when it's a real emergency.
This chart here does a really great job of breaking down your two-way options. So on the simplest end, you've got FRS radios. These are your basic walkie-talkies, no license needed. Perfect for keeping tabs on the family around the neighborhood. Step it up a notch and you've got GMRS. More power, more range, but you do need a simple license that covers your whole family. And at the top, you have ham radio, the most powerful and versatile option of them all, with the potential to talk around the world. That one does require you to get your own individual license.
And this image, right here, it really says it all. When that complex, grid-dependent tech goes down, A simple, self-sufficient tool like a radio is what keeps you connected. Look, this isn't about giving up your smartphone. It's just about having a really solid plan B.
Oh, and here's a super important point we absolutely cannot forget. Power. None of these radios work without it, so your kit has to have its own power strategy. That means stocking up on extra batteries, maybe getting a small solar charger, or even a radio that has a hand crank. You've got to have a lifeline for your lifeline.
Okay, I know we've covered a lot of ground, so let's boil it all down into a simple 5-step blueprint. This is something you can literally start working on tonight as soon as this is over.
All right, you ready? Here's the blueprint. Step 1, choose that out-of-area contact we talked about. Step 2, make those pocket communication cards and make sure everyone in the family has one. Step 3, put together your radio kit with batteries and power backups and keep it all in one easy-to-grab spot. Step 4, agree on a simple check-in time and a specific radio channel. And finally, Step 5, and this one might be the most important of all, you have to practice. Run a phones down drill a couple times a year. Just make sure everyone knows what to do.
And really, that's the main takeaway here. The effort it takes is so small. We're talking about one evening to make a plan, but the peace of mind you get from it, it's huge. That one evening could make all the difference in the world.
Because ultimately, this isn't really about the gear. It's about the plan. It's about the confidence of knowing that no matter what happens to the grid, no matter what happens to the cell towers, you have a way to stay connected to the people who matter most.